Jock Campbell, it's a huge opportunity this week. How do you take that news and how do you see him utilised at the back there? And sorry, I was going to ask, was there any consideration to Kellaway going at the back?
No, we're keen to give Jock a crack. He's had an excellent year, really strong with Australia A, and we were keen to give him a start early in the tour. So we did contemplate Scotland. He obviously got his debut via the bench, and with Tom having a bit of an ankle issue, we knew Saturday night that it was doubtful that he'd train early in the week, and so we're back Jock. We like Kells on the wing, and you consider it. You got Kells and Tom, who both started at fullback for us already, so strengthens our back three, we believe.
Tom Bates, how long do you think he'll be out for? Is he a chance next week? And Geordie Pattaya, is he close-ish?
Yeah, we'd expect Geordie to play next week. Tom will know a little bit more over the next couple of days.
Taniela, a start for him, obviously in unfortunate circumstances with Alan. Where's he at the moment? I mean, he's sort of been up and down a year. How is he at the moment?
He's buoyant. He's had a great training week, full of energy. I think he's in a really good place and enjoying the tour, and hopefully we see that reflected on Saturday.
Did you say much more after the game, post that penalty that he gave away at the end there, or was that just let that be?
We spoke about the penalties we gave away that we thought we can control, and when you reflect back on it, there's a handful of penalties that we conceded that. In reflection by the officials weren't necessarily accurate, but can't argue with Taniela's one. And so, he's happy that he's got away with that. There's got to be some learnings from it though. So, what we know is the ref's going to be reasonably tough on people putting their hands on the ground or not supporting their body weight. And we can't argue with the penalty. And so he's okay, he's learned from it.
Bernard Foley's the front runner, obviously, in that 10 jersey, gets another chance. Where is he at the moment? Do you feel like he has performed to standard in his three chances there so far?
Yeah, he gives us a massive amount of experience. His contribution at meetings and on the park's excellent. He's got a really optimistic mindset, and we think that's really important while we're over here. What we know, he's very methodical, incredibly calm under pressure, and you see that with his goal kicking. And while he hasn't got a long kicking game, he was smart last week. He varied it. I found a lot of grass down the middle. Again, that's going to be important this week.
You spoke after the Scotland game about Trent's going to be kicking a lot. The question is, everyone wants to know back home, is why have Trent's become so good in the last couple of years? What's your read on that?
I reckon it's not just from the last couple of years, from a number of years. I reckon the best French players play in France, so that's the start. The most money in the world is in France, so their best players don't leave. So they've got access to pick their very best. For a lot of years, a lot of the best Southern Hemisphere players all come up to France and play. So when you look at the club sides here, they're phenomenal depth, and a lot of the local boys have had a chance to rub shoulders with a number of the best in the world, and I think that's rubbed off. And so you got 28 professional sides up here, so there's a hell of a lot of quality players to pick from, and they've done it well. They play a simple game. They've got massive forwards, good athletes, backline that can play when they want to, but they play a lot of territory and back their defence.
Where would this rank in your champions in your time at the Wallabies beating France in Paris? I mean, that's not something that teams do too often nowadays.
I think any win away from home against quality sides is, will be a hell of an effort. We're well aware. I mean, this side's the best in the world. Regardless of what the rankings say, they've been unbeaten for about 15 months. They've beaten Ireland, who are ranked number one, and so we're well aware of the challenge, and we're looking forward to it. We're certainly going to go out there and give it a crack.
on another note, a game has been moved between an Australian and New Zealand side fused together for the 2025 Lions series. Just your thoughts on that? Do you think New Zealand would come to the party and agree to a game like that if that did get off the ground?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
Anything online, guys?
Just one on Will Skelton coming back to the side. I guess there was temptation to start him. Very familiar against the French and how they play, but can you just kind of speak around that decision and I guess how much the form of Caden Neville and Nick Frost have to do with that as well?
Yep, all of those things. I thought our locks were excellent last week. Will arrived in on Sunday night. It's a fair bit to get his head around line out D and maul, etc., and then all our structures. So he does have the advantage of being in this group last year, and while the language might have changed, what we're trying to do is similar. So and then we felt with Alan missing, Tani Ellis starting, be good for Throbber to have Big Will behind him late in the game. So we took all those things into consideration.
I think, Dave, I think the only Test team to play 5 back-to-back games across this sort of little period. I guess from a coaching perspective, do you see that more as just kind of a challenge to try and keep them all fresh, or is it just an opportunity to kind of figure out more about your players ahead of an important year next year?
Yep, both of those things too. It's an amazing challenge. You play Six Nations up here, and they play 5 tests, and they have a couple of fallow weeks in amongst it. So, we've talked about we've got to use the bulk of the squad and share the load. So it's a genuine opportunity for guys. We've also spoken about the fact we've got a handful of guys who aren't here who will push for World Cup spots. So it's a great opportunity for the guys who are up here. And we've made a handful of changes this week. We'll do the same next week.
Hey Dave, on Will, a couple of things. Would he be educated in these calls and the plays while he's in France? Like, is he getting kind of updates from your camp to keep him fresh, or is it just a case that he comes in now and has to kind of learn it from there? And you did mention he was there last year, but like, is it an ongoing education, or is it kind of just catch up quickly?
Oh no, we sent him all the line-out calls and everything that we're doing, a couple of weeks before we left. So he's had a chance to do a bit of study around that. It's more around getting in and doing it. We're trying to make sure that when he's on the field, it complements our line-out. Because compared to the other two guys, he's 150 kilos to lift. So so we'll make adjustments around that when he's on the field.
And did you feel he was up to speed? Like, did he come into camp knowing everything that you wanted him to know?
Yeah, he's on the bench, so clearly we've got confidence in him. And, he's passionate about wearing the Wallaby jersey, and, he wants to make a good fist of it to push for World Cup next year.
And then looking ahead to the World Cup, obviously this season, you come to Europe and you've got him for 3 games or whatever. But next year, would you like your World Cup players to be available for you in those domestic tests as well? Should they be making themselves available, or do you think you would go the same path and pick players just for a World Cup who aren't there at that time?
It's a bit of water to go under the bridge around that stuff, but obviously we're keen to get him in for as long as we can pre-World Cup.
Thanks, Dave.
Anyone else online?
Dave, could you give us your take on Dupont? Is he the best rugby player in the world at the moment in your book?
He's incredible. Unbelievable running game and a kicking game. He kicks well off both feet and incredibly long. I can say, whether he's the best in the world, it's hard to make comparison against other positions, but he's certainly highly respected by us, and he's had a hell of a couple of years.
And just could I ask, going back to one of the questions earlier, you said you didn't know anything about this. It's a big story over here in England where people are talking about this idea of the Lions playing an All Blacks Wallabies combined 15, which is apparently both unions are in talks about it for 2025. Okay, it's a long way down the road, but isn't that something that you'd like to get involved in as being perhaps the coach of that team?
Geez, they'd have to be coaching Australia then. So,
Exactly.
it's above my pay grade. I'm not sure around those discussions, and probably more important is sorting out a domestic competition between the two countries as opposed to playing a team or picking a team that represents both countries. So, I'd be interested to see whether there's any validity in that.
You don't sound massively enthusiastic about the idea.
Oh, well, like I say, I think there's more important things going on over the next couple of years. We'll worry about that when it comes around.